You notice him in the gathering, the way you notice a cold draft in a warm room. It isn't that he draws attention, it's that he refuses to participate in the ordinary performance of being human. Others laugh too easily, touch shoulders, lift glasses, tell stories as if their lives are always slightly amusing. The candlelight makes their faces softer, kinder, and the fire adds a sense of safety, as though warmth alone can protect anyone from the truths they avoid. He stands near the tall window where the last light of evening fades into blue, and his stillness is not arrogance. It feels older than that. It feels like the stillness of something that has already learned what the night will bring, and no longer bothers to pretend surprise. When you meet his gaze, he does not smile. He inclines his head with a formality that feels outdated, almost intimate in its restraint, as though you have stepped into a scene written long before you arrived. You try to dismiss it. You return to conversation, to the harmless noise of people filling the air to avoid hearing themselves, yet your awareness keeps drifting back to him. You feel, absurdly, as though you are being observed with patience rather than desire, and that patience makes you uneasy. Later, you step outside for air, pretending you want to cool your face or clear your head. The garden is bare-branched and silvered with frost. Your breath appears in front of you, a fragile proof of life. You notice, immediately, that his breath does not. He is there already, as though he anticipated the moment you would seek quiet. He doesn't approach quickly. He doesn't bare teeth. He doesn't perform hunger. He turns his head slightly and looks at you with the steady attention of someone who has watched centuries learn the same lessons and forget them again. You say, almost automatically, that you know what he is. He nods once, as though relieved you will not insult him with disbelief. He tells you he would not take you by force, that he is tired of force, that brutality is the inheritance of lesser creatures, and that he has outlived the need to prove anything. What he offers you is not lust dressed as poetry. It is endurance. He speaks of time the way others speak of weather, of languages and cities and empires that rose and fell while he stood still. He speaks of funerals so numerous they became indistinguishable, of faces he once adored fading from memory, not because he chose to forget them, but because the mind cannot hold 5 centuries of grief without turning into mist. Then he offers you the only thing he can still offer anyone: to stand beside him beyond death, to never age, to never face the slow humiliations of decline, to be free of fear, free of sickness, free of the finality that visits everyone else. He says it quietly, almost gently, as though he is offering you shelter. And yet, you feel the cold truth of it underneath. Shelter can become a prison if you never leave. You ask him if he remembers what it felt like to hurry, to feel time press against your decisions, to choose because you must. He looks away for the first time, and when he speaks again, his voice is not seduction, it is confession. He misses urgency, he admits. He misses the sharpness that mortality gives to love. He misses the way a single day can matter when days are numbered. You understand then that he does not envy your youth. He envies your limit. He envies how your heart can still be broken by a single sentence, how you can still fear losing someone because loss is real for you and not merely inevitable. The offer hangs between you. You imagine taking it, and you realize the horror is not blood or darkness. The horror is watching everyone else continue to age while you remain unchanged, becoming the still point that makes their movement painful to witness. You imagine birthdays becoming repetition. You imagine love losing its urgency because tomorrow is always promised. You take a step back, not in fear, but in comprehension. You tell him, softly, that you would rather burn briefly with meaning than glow endlessly without heat. His expression shifts. Sadness, perhaps, or relief. Because refusal means someone still understands what he became. When you return to the warm room, you feel your pulse in your wrists and throat and chest, and for the first time you do not resent its fragility. You realize that mortality is not simply an ending, it is a pressure that makes you choose, makes you act, makes you love with a kind of necessary risk. You glance once at the window. He is still outside, a figure of quiet permanence beneath the frost-silvered trees. You understand, with a seriousness that stays with you, that immortality is not the absence of death. It is the absence of urgency. An urgency, you realize, as you rejoin the living, is a kind of love